All right, welcome in. A very happy Saturday to you. It is last call. What a loaded Saturday it is here as June 8th is upon us. We've got, huge events coming up here. We've got a great horse race you might have heard of. It's called the Belmont Stakes. That's coming up. We're going to have Sean Alvarez step in here in just a minute, break down this race for you, give you a few horses here to look at today. Make sure you're on your card. We also have a loaded Major League Baseball slate. We've got L.A. and New York in New York. We've got another New York and Philly team in London. Go figure. And just about everything else in between. And how about the puck finally dropping in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, not too far from where the studio I'm in now is. In fact, here is Florida will be taking on Edmonton. We have a little bit of a breather before we kick off game number 2 in the NBA Finals. That is coming up tomorrow back in Boston as Dallas tries to even that series. So we've got a little something for everybody here today. And if you're nice in the chat room, Dan has promised to maybe drop in a PLL play since Eric D is already groveling 5 minutes before the show even started to try to get those damn plays. So you guys are in for a treat here. Tokyo Brandon will be by Bryan Power on location from his latest, I believe, investment in a bar. We'll have more on that later for you. And then, of course, Jesse Schule is stopping by here today. He has got a couple of angles, not only in the NHL game here tonight, but maybe the NBA. So a little something for everyone. We're going to kick it off with our man, Mr. Pony Pundit himself, Sean Alvarez, in the house, ready to go. You got to love these Saturdays, Sean, right? You're out in Vegas over there, so in order to truly enjoy race day at Saratoga this time here, what time's your morning start there? Because first race will be about what, 9 o'clock in the morning by you?
No, actually, it went off about 15 minutes ago at 7:45.
There you go.
So yeah, I was up at about 4:30, just making sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed as far as scratches and weather goes, to make sure that we're ready. So yeah. The Belmont card at Saratoga is underway. We've got 15 minutes to race 2. Fingers crossed the rain stays away, which I believe that it will. And we've got a lot of good races. I believe it's 9 graded stakes races on the card. So outside of just the Belmont Stakes, we've got a lot of competitive racing to hopefully catch some prices.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge day in racing here today, guys. We'll tell you how you can partner up with Sean in a minute, but let's talk about this big race here. It seems a little crazy. We're talking about the 158th or 59th running of the Belmont Stakes, but it's in Saratoga. It's not in Belmont. So, Sean, the big difference there, of course, is this is not a mile and a half. It's a mile and a quarter at Saratoga. We have 14 Todd Pletcher horses, I believe, to talk about in this race. So let us talk with a couple of horses that you think are actual win contenders out of the 10 here. This isn't a 20-horse race like the Derby was. We do have 10 horses, but you got to narrow it down. Give me 1 or 2 you think actually can win this race.
Yeah, I'm really going to kind of narrow down my card as far as the win end to really 2 horses. And I don't mean to eat chalk as far as, grabbing the morning line favorite in the second choice. But if you look at what Sierra Leone has done, he's won 3 of his 5 starts, and his only 2 losses are by a nose. We all kind of remember what happened in the Kentucky Derby. Tyler Gaffalione and Sierra Leone were flying home late and just lugged in kind of like he's done at least in his last 3 starts, including that Kentucky Derby, and ran right into Forever Young, and it just kind of pinballed bumper cars the whole way down the stretch. And to me, and I think a lot of other people think this way as well, if Sierra Leone and Forever Young don't kind of bumper car in the stretch, one of those 2 win the Kentucky Derby. And we're not talking about Mystic Dan winning the Kentucky Derby. Now, Chad Brown was very vocal and outward on his displeasure with Tyler Gaffalione. Apparently the stick or the whip, have you, was supposed to be in the left hand, going around the turn to kind of get Sierra Leone to focus and straighten up. And Obviously, that didn't happen. But if you look at the last two starts in the Bluegrass and the Risen Star, Tyler Gaffalione had the whip in the left hand and was going to the left-handed whip throughout the stretch and just couldn't get Sierra Leone to not lug in. So Chad Brown has taken Tyler Gaffalione off the horse. We go to hands down my favorite jockey in Flavien Prat. So you get really a good horseman and a good rider that understands what horses like and to get them to settle. And then Chad Brown has also changed the bridle to give Flavien Prat a little bit more control. So he is going to come flying late. I don't think he needs necessarily the pace to run into. He's always going to have that late big kick. The big question mark with that morning line favorite is, can Flavien get him to straighten up and not lug in 6, 7, 8 paths? Whereas we saw that really came to be the outlier in the Kentucky Derby. And then my second choice and the second choice in the morning line is the 10 Mind Frame. It's a lightly raced colt by Constitution, cost $600,000 in the Keeneland September sale. So it was always kind of in the forefront of Rapoli's stable's mind and Todd Pletcher that this was a horse that was meant to be pretty good, and made his debut at Gulfstream Park back in March. They went way too fast, way too early. But Irad was able to get Mindframe to settle and sit off that pace and just was kind of a push button type run, where as soon as Irad asked, he went by those horses as if they were standing still to win by 13 lengths and just capped that off on the Kentucky Derby undercard back earlier in May. And nobody wanted to go to the lead. Irad said, okay, put the horse on the lead, went up, running away by 7 lengths. And what I really like about this horse is just visually how he does it. He just has a high cruising speed. He's going faster than all the other horses in the race, but yet he seems to settle. So those are the two horses that I'm really going to lean on the front, on the top end, but then hopefully get at least a price or two underneath to make this pay a little bit better.
All right. Well, and that's the whole key, right? So we're going to have to try to stay away from the chalk as best we can, although they've been talking about Sierra Leone winning this Belmont since before he raced in the Kentucky Derby. So it's an interesting crew outside of that, right? Because we've got, you mentioned Mystic Dan, I think the only horse that's actually will have raced in all 3 of the Triple Crown races there, as far as the Belmont, the Preakness now. The Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and now the Belmont here. But a lot of love seems to be coming towards the number 2 horse, Resilient. Seems to be a horse that a lot of guys are centering around to build their card here today because they feel that might be the best value on the card. Are you in agreement with that, Sean? Is number 2 Resilience a horse you're keeping an eye on today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to like about the fact that his odds are 10-1. But if you look at what happened in the Wood Memorial, he set off the pace, not necessarily a quick pace. So he didn't have necessarily, a lot of pace to run into, and just kind of, I wouldn't say on his own, but Javi never really asked much of Resilience, and he just ran by that field, winning by 2 1/4 lengths. And then we look at the Kentucky Derby. He was sitting, I would say, kind of more along the Mystic Dan pace as far as the pace of the race goes. He wasn't necessarily in touch with the leaders, but he wasn't too far back. And he made a big middle move in the Kentucky Derby, so much so that it kind of looked like he was going to run away. But, we've talked about it, with what happened with Mystic Dan and how he won the Kentucky Derby. Mystic Dan had all, saving all the ground. Forever Young and Sierra Leone just had a big kind of late closing kick. So like I said, it was a premature move, and he definitely moved too early. And he really came back to dig in to finish a game 6 place in that Kentucky Derby. Now Alvarado stays on, kind of understands what Resilience likes and what his running style is. So I think Alvarado is really going to have Resilience in a good pocket spot and try to make that, I wouldn't say middle move, but a little bit later of a move to really influence that late kick. So definitely think the 2 Resilience is a player at 10-1.
Yeah, he drew the 18 post in the Derby, which wasn't great, turned a lot of people off there, but actually I think he came all the way up to finish 6th. So, a pretty good ride there and at a pretty good number. which is interesting. Now, let's take a look here at your card today with the horses that you're looking to build around here so we can get an idea of what we're looking at here, Sean. And you are going to you're going to start with Sierra Leone and Mindframe, obviously up at the top here. We talked resilience, but a lot of guys trying to stay away from Seize the Gray. Perfect Trip aside. But what do you think? Anna Marie was the one horse that was the wise guy horse, as Marco said on Pony Pundits earlier this week. There was a lot of money flowing in on that horse, and he's still running, I think, at the Derby. But he's back here for the Belmont. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is this horse have the potential here to sneak in and hit the top of the board?
Yeah, so if I'm going to play the favorites up top, we definitely got to look and try to get this to play a little bit better, pay a little bit better underneath with some prices. So I think the big thing is that I'm going to fade our Kentucky Derby champion, Mystic Dan. I just don't think that he really has a closing kick to put away a pretty good Belmont Stakes field that, compared to what we've seen kind of in the recent years. And, you know, like I said, if you look at the Kentucky Derby, all that mattered was that he saved ground and as was scraping paint the whole time. Probably saved 5 to 6 lengths compared to, you know, the likes of Sierra Leone and Forever Young. So I don't like the way that he finishes races. So I'm going to try and beat Mystic Dan as far as in the exacta goes. And I am going to use the one Seize the Gray. While he's not Mystic Dan as far as racing in the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and now the Belmont, Seize the Gray did run on the Kentucky Derby undercard in the Pat Day Mile. We're in a big race in that race. And then, you know, like you alluded to, Joe, he did get a perfect trip in the Preakness, but you can't really knock a horse on doing what he was asked to do. And he did it well, put away, you know, the likes of Mystic Dan, put away the likes of Catching Freedom, which I really liked in going into that race. So that is a horse I'm going to use, especially at the price. It's not like we have to swallow a short price there. And then, you know, you kind of touched on it with Honor Marie. The big thing with Honor Marie is he just tends to get in trouble and find his own trouble. It's not like, you know, he has a bad trip and other horses are bumping into him. It's almost like he's running into trouble. So we do get a jockey switch with Florent Giroux. Hopefully we get a little bit better of a run. And, you know, again, 12 to 1's a good price to get underneath to spice that up. And I do like the longest shot in the field at 20 to 1. Like I said, Chad Brown takes Tyler Gaffleone off. The morning line favorite. Now he's the longest shot in the field. I think maybe we see a little bit of a chip on the shoulder from Tyler. Hopefully a big ride and a big effort, but I really like what this horse has done, kind of more on watching tape-wise instead of just kind of looking what's on paper. He hasn't necessarily had the best trips in the Wood Memorial and the Peter Pan, but he really digs in and tends to never give up. And that's the type of running style I really like in a big race like this. And like I said, we get a little bit of a chippy Tyler Gaffleone, maybe can clunk up into second and really make this pay out if we're eating chalk up top.
All right, well, there you go. You got a few horses to choose from here today. 10-horse field, race 12 at Saratoga. And yes, it is the Belmont Stakes, but it is in Saratoga because in New York, no construction project ever finishes on time. And we'll probably be there for the next few years anyway. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Sean Alvarez, you have a huge card here today. Pick threes, pick fives. It is a loaded card at Saratoga. You mentioned all the stakes races there. Up and available right now. Guys can partner up on your page at WagerTalk. And what? They'll get not only your exact tickets there at the Belmont, but the rest of the day's card as well?
Yeah, the second race is about to go off in 3 minutes, but there's a 14 race card. And like I said, there's 9 graded stakes on the card. So get my full card selections, suggested wagers, and wt.buzz/SA.
Yeah, you got Sean's page right now available at WagerTalk. Partner up, guys. Get the download and get going with Sean here for just $35. Get all of his best bets today at Saratoga. They're off and running already. 12th race today will be the Belmont, and it should be an absolute loaded card here today. Should be a fun one there at Saratoga. So we appreciate that. Sean, We got much more coming up here for you guys. Going to talk plenty of Major League Baseball. We're going to talk, of course, the puck dropping a little bit later with Jesse Schule and the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Game 1, Florida taking on Edmonton. How much fun is that going to be here? We've got a Game 2 tomorrow in Boston with Dallas. BP will be here. Brian Power will be along the way. He'll talk a little Major League Baseball as well as the NBA. But next up, when it comes to baseball, well, nobody better here, guys. And you got him here on this Saturdays. We welcome back in TB. Tokyo, Brandon in the house, ready to go. Nothing like starting your weekend off with a little ass man. And that's what we've got here. TB, it's an interesting day today. Weekend, really, in Major League Baseball, right? We got a couple of games across the pond. A lot of questions I see with Eric D. and William Bennett and R.U. Zen. Titan CT in the house about what do we do with games across the pond here? What are we expecting? Is it going to be pitching battles? Is it going to be double-digit runs? How do you approach these overseas games here, TB? Anything special with them?
Generally speaking, I will avoid them in most cases. But today's is kind of juicy because you've got a really good Phillies team taking on a not so good Mets team. But this particular one, I'm approaching it in a prop play, but on the side, I'm kind of leaving it alone. Actually, my numbers show that the Mets are actually hitting better than the Phillies in the last 30 days. So kind of might be a little dangerous to take on the Mets there, or to take the Phillies on a side. I do like a particular pitcher prop in this game. But that really doesn't really have much to do with whether they're playing overseas or not. That just has to do with how a pitcher matches up with another team. I really don't know what to make of this stadium they're playing in. I know when they play in Mexico, you get game totals of like 17.5, but here I just don't really know what to expect. So overall on the side, I'm pretty much avoiding it.
Well, me too. Well, first of all, we don't know what the deal with Ranger Suarez is. He got what? The thumb was an issue on the comebacker, so we're not really sure how many he's going to be able to go. And like you said, the Mets are actually hitting a little bit better. So a less than 100% Ranger Suarez might be a risky situation here. But you do have your eye on a game here that you're going to break down. And, of course, it's going to be with the dreaded Red Sox, White Sox. What are we doing in this game, BP? What are we looking at here?
We've got Sox on Sox violence here. And so, hey, look, neither one of these teams is really tearing the cover off the ball, but the White Sox are just historically bad. They're really bad. I like to look at the last 30 days when I'm doing my capping. I kind of mix the last 30 days and the last 7 days and just kind of do a little algorithm from that. But, you know, the Red Sox are hitting number 3 in Major League Baseball, according to my numbers, and the White Sox are hitting 21. So, you know, when you get a team that's like minus 280, minus 300, but you really want to bet them, there's kind of a tricky way to do that, and that's by betting the pitcher to record a win. The reason you get such good odds on pitcher to record a win is because you have to accomplish 3 tasks there. You have to have your starting pitcher has to go 5 innings at least. Your team has to be winning when he comes out of the game, and your bullpen has to hold the lead. So essentially, you have to win 3 bets for your pitcher to record a win. You have to win like basically a first 5 bet. And you have to win the pitcher over 14.5 outs recorded, and you have to win a bullpen not barfing on the mound bet. So it's kind of 3 wrapped into 1. So today, Bryan Bayo gets plus 125 to record a win on some sites. Other sites had it plus 105. Other sites had it plus 110. These props, you know, depending on the site you're looking at, you can get a pretty wide variance of numbers. But Bryan Bayo to record a win here, I think, is a really good bet because the White Sox are awful. I have their hitting ranked 21 of 30 teams, and I have their bullpen ranked 26 of 30. So Red Sox strong bullpen ranked number 8 out of 30, and batting the ranked number 3 right now. So, Bayo he's given up 3 earned runs or more in 5 straight starts. So he's not the best pitcher in the world, but those were against major league teams, and today he's not playing a major league team. So, yeah, I think Bryan Bayo to record a win is a good bet here.
Is not a bad way to go. Yes, I know. Last night was interesting. Everyone, there's only 2 times that people bet the White Sox. It appears it's when Fetty and the kid last night Crochet pitch, and it's usually just in the first 5 innings. If they happen to hold, if that bullpen happens to hold on to a lead there, TP, God bless.
Yeah.
If you're betting them full game, but outside of that, there's only 2 ways to bet those pitchers, and it's to make sure the bullpens don't get involved in there. There were some very interesting results last night, and some lines that didn't make any sense. Tampa Bay and Baltimore was a little bit of a head scratcher yesterday. But I don't know what to make of Atlanta anymore, TB. Charlie Morton, 109 years old with his AARP card, will be out on the mound going up against Gore here today. Washington beats them 2-1. They still can't hit. They're still being priced in the mid-100s here, 140, 150. We're getting a total of 8 here. Is it time to trust Charlie Morton here on the road against this Washington lineup, or are they just unbettable, Atlanta, at this point?
Well, I have Atlanta's lineup ranked 16 right now, which is dead average. Since they lost Acuna, Olsen, they got Albies, they got some good hitters, but for some reason, those guys, are not stepping up. So I like to look at how Charlie Morton has gone against the Nationals in his career, although he is 500 years old. But he doesn't fare exactly wonderfully against this Nationals team. His average again, this is an 87 at bat, so it's a really good sample size, but 276 average against and a 777, which is the lucky sevens, OPS against. So the OPS is not bad. The average is a little bit higher than you'd like it to be. But overall, he should be okay. I mean, he's pitching better than his career averages. So, might want to test the guy. But, he's like Roger Clemens pitching better when he's 40 than when he was 20. But if you look at how Mackenzie Gore goes against Atlanta, in his career, he's held them to a 197 average against and a 597 OPS. So whenever I see this strong team going against a pitcher that pitches better against them than the opposite, I would look at an under. But I would also, look, even the worst team in Major League Baseball, aside from the White Sox, even a bad team like the Nationals are going to win 30-40% of their games. So if the Nationals are going to win one against Atlanta, it could be today. But I would look at the under in this game if I was going to bet it, but I don't have a play on it.
Yeah, I'm with you, except they won a game already last night, which is already head scratching here, TB. Drives me crazy with Washington. We do have a good question.
I realized that. So.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But I'm with you. If Atlanta had won last night, and that's what I was hoping for, this was a game I had circled to back Washington. But unfortunately, they threw a wrench into that. Good question in the chat from B. Rusky, I believe, wanting to know on the WagerTalk.com live odds page, trying to figure out what the color coding means. And it's pretty simple there, B. Rusky. The yellow, red, and the green all signify a time period. If it's you see anything changing in red, that means that is changed within the last 2 minutes. If you see anything that's color-coded in yellow, that means that line has moved within 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes. And anything green you're looking at something that's the oldest move on the board, usually about 10 minutes or longer. So the red is always going to show you that, boom, it just moved, it's moving, and if you see it light up across the board, that tells you that we've got something happening across the board in the marketplace at the same time. So red is 2 minutes, yellow is 5, green is 10 minutes there, and that'll give you a pretty good idea on how stale or how new the line movement is in Major League Baseball here. What were you looking at last night there, Tuggy, on the Dodgers and the Yankees? Did you see a extra inning nothing game? Did you see a pitcher's battle happening? I don't know anybody that saw a pitcher's battle happening with all of that firepower. Were you a little shocked with the way that game ended up?
I was a little bit shocked, and Yamamoto was great in that game. And, you know, he has a tendency to barf on the mound under pressure, but he was solid yesterday. And then the Yankees were starting some guy, I can't pronounce his name, so I expected the Dodgers to run away with that. I did not expect the Yankees to hold the Dodgers that low. But, you know, the Dodgers' big three, Ohtani and Freeman and Betts, they've been a little off. I mean, they've been a little cold these days. If I look up my database for hitting for teams rankings, I have the Dodgers ranked 14 out of 30 teams. So they're kind of, you know, toiling in mediocrity, just like the Braves are right now. So I don't know, you know, baseball is a marathon. It's a long season. Unfortunately, that's not looking good for my future bet on the Dodgers to go over 103.5 wins. It's not looking good right now.
No, it's not. And Nestor Cortez, although he looked good pretty early on. His last couple of starts have been anything but. He's starting to find the barrels again. We're starting to get a lot of hard hit balls. The Dodgers have crushed lefties pretty well this year. This is a tough spot to want to back the New York Yankees again in this one here. So Grove has been pretty good there, TB, over his last couple of starts, too. I've been kind of shy. He's really starting to come into his own. Another one of these Dodger pitchers where you're like, it's a 4 or 5 starter, and what are they going to get? They're going to score 9,000 runs for him anyway. Well, like you said, they haven't been scoring runs for him, but he has been keeping them in a lot of games here so far. Pretty impressed with this kid, although he's going to be in Yankee Stadium, which may be a little bit different for him here.
You mean Stone?
Yeah,
Grove
Stone, rather. I'm sorry. Yeah, Stone, yes.
Yeah, Stone has been, actually, he's one of those guys who's really good that nobody's ever heard of. He's actually has 8 starts, and he's got a 119 whip in those 8 starts.
Crazy.
And it's not like he's been just playing the cream puffs, although he has gone against Colorado and Miami. But, you know, he's played the Mets twice as well. But, you know, he's gone against San Diego. They got a pretty potent lineup. He's gone against Atlanta. He's gone against the Diamondbacks. So, I mean, you know, any major league team except for the White Sox has got legitimate hitters on it. He's going 7 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings, 7 innings, 6 innings. He's going deep in the games as well.
Yeah.
So very impressive. You know, Nestor Cortez has pretty decent numbers against these Dodgers in his career, although the sample size is a little small, but we're probably looking at another under today.
Yeah, I would not be shocked at that at all. Sitting at 8.5, the over is starting to get juiced here a little bit, but I think Stone and Cortez, if they hit Cortez, that's a problem. And everyone else seems to be hitting him.
Obviously.
I know there was a couple of questions, Eric D, in the chat. You wanted to know about the park in London and everything that I am seeing on this park. 390 dead center field. That's what you're looking at. The weather report is apparently calling for double-digit wind out towards right center field. They are comparing this ballpark to Fenway as far as the ball traveling and the wind and those kinds of dimensions there, where certainly a hitter's ballpark. So if you're expecting a pitcher's battle at this park, I don't know necessarily that's the way to do it, but the wind is going to be double digits and blowing dead out to right center field there today here. All right, so we got one other couple other games here that are in the chat room. And Eric D wanted you to know that he is actually on his Japanese toilet right now in honor of you, making his bets and watching us. I don't know if I should thoroughly be disgusted there or good stuff there. Appreciate that, Eric. Glad you're doing the right thing here. Tell me what you think here of another pretty interesting matchup here today with Tampa Bay and Baltimore. Bradley versus Bradish. Baltimore has got. They got to figure some things out here, TB, with this starting rotation because everyone seems to get hurt and then has surgery and they're gone. I think they're going to be players at the trade deadline here. I didn't understand the pick'em price in yesterday's game. This game here today, Baltimore a little bit 120. What are you seeing? 125, 130, somewhere in that ballpark there.
Yeah. Yes. One point about Japanese toilets, they're called washlets and they actually blow water on your butt. So yeah, it's a nice way to kind of wash your rear end after you do your business. And
we call that a hose in my house there, TB. I'm just saying that's we open the window and it's a homemade bidet. It's fantastic over there. I'm sorry, you were saying.
You're in Florida, so you guys are all crazy. So, but one thing about sports betting, what we're doing is we're trying to predict the future. So we want as many predictable things as possible. And when you see a lot of unpredictable things, that's a good time to pass. So I don't know anything about this London park, so I would just pass. The good thing about sports betting is we can pick our hands, whereas in blackjack you just have to play the hand that you're dealt. But in sports betting we can pick our hands, so don't pick a hand that you don't have an edge on. So stay away from that London ballpark today. Let's talk about the Orioles and the Rays here. Anyone just looking at this would say Baltimore's obviously the better team, and they are. And Bradish is obviously the better pitcher, and he is. But it's not quite that easy because, like I said earlier, even the worst team in MLB is going to win 30 to 40% of their games, except for the White Sox. But yeah, the Orioles are hitting quite hot right now, and the bullpen is much better. So I think it's pretty good odds to take the Orioles here. I mean, Taj Bradley's not exactly a good pitcher. Actually, Bradish is not my favorite. Bradish, he's not my favorite pitcher either. He just got clobbered for 5 earned runs against this Rays team. He got jerked in the 3rd inning. But before that, he went, 5 starts with 2 earned runs or less. So I definitely think the Orioles have the edge here in the bullpen, in the starting pitching, and in the hitting. So I think it's pretty good odds. They should be more like around 165 or 170, in my opinion.
I agree 100% here. We have, and I thought the same thing last night too, and they were basically at pick'em because Irving was on the mound. But you're still talking about a Tampa Bay team that can't win games at home. And you're talking about the hottest hitting team in baseball. I don't get it.
Exactly. And Irving's not bad at all.
No. I trust it much better than that. Much better. I think we had a question there, Dan, in the chat room regarding Bregman, was it? That we saw there, looking for him to have a day. I don't understand Anderson there with the Angels. This is a guy we've all been looking to fade for a while, and is he figured something out, TB, or is he playing so far over its head that regression is coming? Because the guy has been phenomenal, and now he's at home going up against Hunter Brown, is going for Houston here. They scored some runs for Framber finally last night. They won 7-1, but I don't know what to do with Tyler Anderson. Every time I look to fade him, this team wins for him, or he ends up limiting the other side. So what do we do here? Is Bregman got a good shot at going up against him here today?
Well, Anderson he's pitching way over his head because his career ERA is 4.3, and this season in 10 starts, his ERA is 2.37. So he's pitching way over his head. And one thing about Tyler Anderson, though, is throughout his career, he's an Iron Man. So, sides are not the only bets you can make in baseball. You can do a lot of prop plays. You can do outs recorded. You can do strikeouts. Tyler Anderson is one of those guys who, like I said earlier, we're trying to predict the future. So anytime we get like a constant that we can rely on, it's gold. And Tyler Anderson has been gold, especially in outs recorded over props. I mean, the guy, let's see, I can count right now only 3 starts out of 12 that he did not go over 5 innings. And he generally finishes 6 innings. He generally finishes 7. And in almost every start, he's over 96 pitches in his starts. So, they leave him in. Even if he's getting tagged, they leave him in. But honestly, he's allowed 1 earned run in 4 straight starts. This is not who he is.
It's crazy.
He's going to get tagged. He's going to get tagged eventually, but I really like to go with his overs in outs recorded. I looked at it today, though. They got it at 18.5. In other words, you have to bet whether he's going to pitch or whether he's going to get an out in the 7th inning or not. And that's pretty risky.
Yep.
If it was will he get an out in the 6th inning, not so risky, but 7th inning, that's pretty risky. So I'm laying off of it, but he's definitely an Iron Man.
Yeah, he's been over the top there. So I don't know whether or not, although Bregman does seem to be coming around, he also seems to be mentioned a lot lately in trade rumors. So he could be a guy that is playing out his last days in Houston before it's all said and done. But Hunter Brown's been pretty good too in his last couple of starts. It certainly feels, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not fading Anderson until I see signs that we should begin to fade him.
Exactly.
But it does feel like an under could very well be in play here in this one at 8.5 runs there. What do you have locked and loaded today, TB, tonight in Major League Baseball at your page at WagerTalk?
Okay. I have 2 4% best bets in Major League Baseball, and I packaged them together. So, I'm number 1 in Major League Baseball in 2024 at WagerTalk. I'm plus 150 units, doubled the bankroll in 3 months. So pretty good guy to roll with. I've been number 1 in all sports 3 of the last 4 years. So pretty good guy to roll with if you feel like betting Major League Baseball today. I like what you said, Joe. You're exactly right. You go with a streak until it doesn't happen anymore. You never bet something is due. If you bet something is due, you could lose 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row. If you bet a streak, the most you can, if you bet a streak until it doesn't happen anymore, the most you can lose is once. So I totally agree with your logic there. I can tell you have been a betting man for a long time. I don't like Hunter Brown very much. I don't like Hunter Brown though. No, you're right though.
He's been
playing well lately.
As of late though. But he's also going up against one of the worst lineups in Major League Baseball. So that'll play a factor, I think, in this one here. But it ties back in. Do we trust Bregman? It's a tough spot.
Look,
I like the under. Don't like Bregman in this spot.
Astros are the most underperforming team in all of Major League Baseball this year. By far.
Yep.
By far.
I agree. 100%. Yeah. All right, TB, get out of here. I know you're going to be late for the Kiss concert, says Roger Long in the chat room there. So always a pleasure to see you, man. Best of luck. Make sure you visit TB over on his page at WagerTalk. We still got a couple of guys ready to come up here. We're going to talk NBA game number 2 coming up tomorrow. Mavs and Celtics. We'll have much more Major League Baseball coming your way, not to mention the puck is dropping, guys. Finally, feels like it's been a month and a half since we've had any Stanley Cup action, but we do. Tonight, Florida, Edmonton, game 1. We've got a bunch of different ways to look at this. Jesse Schule is going to stop in, and we're going to talk some NHL as well as NBA, Major League Baseball, and whatever the hell else Jesse wants to talk about. We'll go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, I did lose a bet. So here he is, Brian Power, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, BP. There it is. Kind of hoping they didn't give you the right number to call in. It's a pleasure, BP, to see you, my man, on a Saturday. What is going on with you, man? What's happening?
I didn't know we were supposed to call in. That's news to me. I don't know. They give me a link. I press it. There we go. I'm here with you, buddy. No person I would rather spend a Saturday morning with than my good buddy, Joe Raineri, to talk some NBA and Major League Baseball. What a life, man.
Unreal. Now, BP, I'm glad. I understand you were a little bit under the weather because you opened a bar in Cleveland and you had a big party for Game 1. And we actually have a picture here of BP bartending. Oh boy, not a big Dallas fan, were you, in Game 1 there? Outstanding. Look at that photo.
I love it when the graphics team is working overtime, and that is what I was yelling in Game 1 because, Joe, as you know, I had a 4% best bet winner on Boston. So that was me after the first quarter when the Celtics opened the largest first quarter lead in NBA Finals history right there. Yes, I don't know who made that shot, but I would never be in that fashion. So that's definitely listen. Yeah, exactly. I mean, somebody sent it to us from on the other side of the bar there. That's impressive, BP, that is. Well, I'm glad to see that you have recovered from the Game 1 shenanigans there. Team power all the way. Let's talk about Game 2 coming up tomorrow here. And let's see here. Sevens, it was as low as 6.5 yesterday. We're still seeing sevens now in the marketplace. Still 214.5. Once again, not a lot of movement with the total here. Boston, Dallas, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not Dallas is going to win a game in Boston, or is their best shot at winning a game back home? How are you approaching game number 2 tomorrow? What are we going to see? Well, I broke this down already here on WagerTalk TV, a long form video. People could check that out. But the shorter version is this. I don't, normally when a team gets blown out, if you're a zigzag person, obviously, you want to gravitate towards that team. You want a bounce back, if you will. I don't love Dallas at this price. I obviously didn't love Dallas. I bet Boston right away in Game 1. I only had to lay 6, obviously close 6.5. I think this number should